So, welcome. We are presenting the first of our hardware asset management process videos. The cat's down there, that's why we're looking anxious. And the first process is joiners, movers, levers.
Yay.
So, why should you have a joiners, movers, levers process, Rory?
Why? To make sure that you can track your hardware assets, which are the foundation of good ITAM, against your HR life cycle. Because it's all very well saying that a certain person sits in a certain office or a particular server is located in a certain data center, but these things move, and you don't necessarily get the move information when the assets move. So it's a good idea to have something that aligns to the humans in the organisation.
That's true. And also, particularly the levers process is when assets are very vulnerable. And assets, by the time somebody's worked in an organisation for a few years, they've probably got some fairly confidential data on their assets. So you need to make sure you get them back, don't you?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Even
for
aside from the waste of money.
Yeah, aside from good ham and good ITAM, this is actually a groundswell or a foundation move for good information security as well. So,
yeah, for sure. So, and actually one of the things you'll notice about the process kits is we have included a joiners, movers, levers process in every single kit because it's just such an important process. So what are the key challenges?
I think the key challenges, it's as ever with any process, is it changes the enemy. So it's those key movement points in somebody's HR life cycle. So obviously when they join first, most organisations are fairly swept up in actually providing IT equipment, be it hardware, be it software, etc. It's then the move that's the major challenge. So if you are involved in programs or projects, and potentially it's a year or two or whatever, then a change in either access to software or indeed a requirement to refresh hardware because of a change in job role doesn't get so well addressed typically. The for want of a better phrase, the glory hole in JML actually is the levers process then at that point. So I've been in a lot of organisations typically where the view of hardware is that it's somebody's pseudo leaving present when they leave the organisation. So
yeah, we've all been there.
Actually, closing that loop is really quite important. Again, for the reasons we highlighted before.
Yeah.
It's not, by that stage the kit is probably written off financially.
Yeah.
But it's more a case of access to systems. It's the ready access to data and to systems that the mobile devices provide that actually you need to recover back. So
Yeah. So for me, the big challenge is always HR. Always working with HR can be really difficult because they've just got so many other really rigid processes that they have to follow. And the thing about HR is it's all highly legal. So they need to be quite careful about how they operate their processes, and for them to add a new process in or to adjust their processes to account for IT issues is something that takes a lot of negotiation. It is possible, but you do need to negotiate.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to go into HR organisation and for the next implementation I oversee, and they say, oh sorry, can't do it, GDPR. So some BS excuse like that. Oh no, sorry, GDPR can't do it. Yeah.
And the other problem with HR is they usually only track employees, and of course we're giving IT kit to contractors, to consultants, who knows who else. So you do need to make sure you track that kit as well. So I would always say actually HR data is not enough on its own. You need to really manage your AD very closely, or your equivalent network control thing. With contractors, put an expiry date on your AD. So every 3 months, a reminder gets sent to the line manager to say, is your contractor still with you? Are they going to be renewed? And then if they don't respond, then they get cut off from the system, and that'll get a response pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I think too, more from a, shall we say, an as a service or a software angle, it's great that you use AD as a sort of a checkpoint to make sure that you've got access to and from systems indeed, or indeed data. But there may always be those systems which are independent of AD as well. So do watch out for those.
That's software asset management, Rory.
It's all together, it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff.
So so any gotchas around joiners, movers, levers that we've not mentioned?
Just, I think, as we referred back to the beginning, just make sure you've got the HR policy to back the operation, because if you want to crack the whip and say if if you don't return this equipment, we're going to come after you for the money. You need to make sure that that's enshrined in policy and that people understand it from day one, not something that you've introduced, 2 days before they leave.
Yeah, and that's actually another area where you're quite reliant on HR, because you really shouldn't be contacting somebody who's already left the business to chase them for kit that's disappeared. You need to go through HR. So again, you need to be, having it in the HR policy that HR will be chasing down equipment and will be contacting users who have taken equipment with them. Yeah. So before we go, I do have a really good Joiners, Movers, Leavers horror story. Shall I tell you?
Oh, go on, yeah.
Okay, so I was working with a reasonably large client a few years ago, and they wanted to sort out their hardware asset management because they had a small consultancy working with them. And the small consultancy, I think, had been maybe 5 or 10 people. So basically the entire company was doing a project for this organisation. And after they'd all been given kit from the organisation, and then after they finished the program or the project, they just disappeared. And this company didn't have the triggering AD to close off access to all the systems after a certain period of time. So the consultancy just went off and did their thing, and it was a couple of years later that the organisation realised that actually the consultancy had basically been operating their entire business off their network.
No.
For a good couple of years. I know. And do you know something even funnier?
Go on.
I was talking to somebody from one of the big 4 publishing software vendors.
Yeah.
So
which one?
I'm not going to tell you which one. No,
on.
I'm not. But they said to me that this software vendor had exactly the same scenario, and that was when they implemented hardware asset management too. So you know what? It can happen to anybody.
Yeah. Donkeys.
So, that's JML for you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.